We are live. What's going on? Back with another A to Z. I'm RodZilla and my friend
I'm on gang
Ali.
got Ali. What's up, baby?
What's up, man? We're
Yeah,
just two dudes chopping it up, having fun, talking about whatever interests us. Any topic from A to Z is fair game. But
yeah.
it's Thanksgiving, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Again, like I say, happy Kill the Indians Day.
You got to start right away. Just right
Yeah,
in
I
there.
got
All
to.
right.
You got to. You got to, man. There's a lot of things that is happening. I even had a friend earlier
Yeah.
send me. He's full fledged and he goes with the he does the drums and he chants and all that other stuff. And he sent me a happy Thanksgiving. And I didn't
Yeah.
know how to respond. I was like, oh my God. I mean, so I didn't respond at all. I
Yeah.
thumbs up. Other than that, I was like, I'm
That's
gonna
probably the
talk to
best
him
neutral
later.
thing you could do.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him later. I'm like, how do you
What,
celebrate Thanksgiving when
do you
that's
think
the
he was
day?
joking or something?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping he was fishing to see if I
Oh,
say
just
it
see how
back.
you just to see
Hey,
how
who?
you were gonna come back at him. Okay.
Yeah,
He
like
figure out
happy
if he was trying to
Thanksgiving
get
to
those
you too.
arrows out or not.
Right? Yeah, let me delete you as a friend, buddy.
Yeah, you came back a little too quick with that. Happy Thanksgiving, Ali.
Right? You ain't supposed to respond that to a true Indian, a
That's
true
funny,
native,
man.
native,
Yeah,
native.
yeah.
We just talk about this too. We don't
Who, you
even
and
know what
him?
they really. Nah. My son he brought up the Eskimos,
Or your
right?
son? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he brought up the Eskimos, and he was like, the word Eskimo is a slur.
What is it
For
like? Inuit or something like that, or
he said something like that too. The Inu, whatever,
Inuit?
whatever.
I don't
But
know.
it's like we don't know what their names are, so we just got to go ahead and do what the Europeans said. You know,
I mean,
like
it's
we
getting
don't.
so crazy. Like, I don't know what to call anybody anymore. Like, what?
Yeah, what
I
do you
mean, how
call
do you?
us?
Who? Me and you?
Yeah, because like okay, this is what I'm saying. Like
Ali,
so
you coming in fast. I like it.
okay,
A
so
to
so
Z, man. Go for it.
when they say that they pulled all these people from Africa, they brought slave ships from Africa, but what about the slaves? I mean, the black people that were already here before then.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Are,
there was
are
a lot
we?
of
Are,
them.
there was a lot because the Moors was already here before the Europeans got here.
Hmm.
The Geechee people were already here before the
Right.
Europeans got here. So are we part of them too? So if I was to say that, what am I? I don't know if I'm a slave or is that whole thing a trick? Like they did bring some slaves, but they never made it here. You know what I
You
mean?
know, man, during my research, I used to listen to a gentleman, Dane Calloway, who goes in at length talking about this subject of slavery and coming over. And his research led him to believe that slavery was told backwards. That a lot of the people from America were shipped down to some of the islands and vice versa in this circular type of pattern. But that's just mixing people around. And then also, like, if you look at the number of people that were supposedly brought over at that time with those types of ships, it's almost a mathematical impossibility, especially the way that they were supposedly packed up for those type of long voyages. And then I personally read some of I have to go back and find the website, but there's a website where you can go back and look at ship logs from old explorers and things like that.
Yeah,
And
the
if you,
journals and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, their journals and things, and you look at Columbus's, he would also say that he never, I don't think he even really touched down on America itself as a continent. And also, they talk about copper colored races, plural, that there were more than one type of race here.
yeah.
And then when you look at the original definition of American, if you go to Webster's 1828 dictionary, it talks about how there was hold on, let me get this right. I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to misquote it. Go
Yeah,
ahead while I
yeah,
pull
yeah.
this up, man. Go
Go
ahead
ahead
while I
and do
pull up.
what you okay, I guess I got to be on point all the time because I didn't have a clue what you was talking about.
Oh, I mean these
I,
things I'm
I,
talking
I
about.
can't. No, I know what you're talking about, but I can't add into that because I'm about to learn this one too. Because I didn't know that there was a different term for American back
Okay, let
then.
me. I'm gonna pull up my screen.
All
Let me
right.
pull it up real quick. Share screen. Do-do-do. Can you see this?
Yes, I can.
So the 1828 dictionary, Webster's, was one of the first Webster's dictionaries that were created. And oftentimes, if you go back to it, you can see what the definition meant at that time, which is what, the people of those times, that's how they defined the words. But you can see here, American, and this back then, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races, plural, which were found here by the Europeans, but now that is applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So even back in the day, the America,
Oh
just
wow.
being called an American, was a name that was given to the Aboriginals, which were already here, which you just stated a second ago. And then it states plural, multiple copper-colored races here. So yeah, man, there was people here without question that were called American before, it was afforded to European descendants. And that's a
And
fact. Yeah.
I kind of dislike the uh, the idea that comes along with the word Aboriginal, the vision,
Tell me
the
about it.
picture that, because when, and this is at least for me, I don't know if it's for everybody else, but when I hear the
Sure.
word Aborigine or Aboriginal, I think of Crocodile Dundee. The people back in the bush
Yeah,
with the spears and
for
everything,
sure.
and that's everywhere. I mean, I understand that um, it's supposed to be that the Europeans brought civilization to people, right? But
Yeah, that's
I'm not for
debatable.
certain. Yeah, that's debatable because I don't see all of, especially with the Moors, they were dressed and
Yes,
clothed, and then
yes,
they taught Europeans how to wash up. They taught Europeans how to brush their teeth, how to wash their food, how to eat
correct.
vegetables. So and they
And
had they had schools. They gave European
yeah,
schools from uh what's that? Just everywhere. There was libraries. They had libraries and everything. So
for sure. Yeah, no,
that's
I see the point you're making, and that's certainly like the image that comes to mind most time when you hear Aboriginals. But like you say, those Moors, they taught the Europeans things. You ever seen that show Vikings?
yeah,
Vikings. I can't remember what season it was. I think it was season 2 or 3, but they show a scene where the Vikings arrived to a place in near Spain, and you can see these Moors, which were black colored people, living well.
yeah.
Yeah, they
I didn't
show
see
it.
that episode, but I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about though.
yeah, they show it, and it speaks to your point that these Moors went in and taught the Europeans so many things about hygiene and cleanliness and all that stuff. And one thing that's we have to think about is that we've been taught here in America, especially, that the times that we're living in is the most technologically advanced times that there has been, but that's not true.
That's not true.
Right. It's not true. And when you think about history in that way, that if you think about it from technology at one time being more advanced than we have now, then you can see how those Aboriginals were more advanced than we are now. I think we're coming into an age where we're kind of catching up, but getting a lot closer. But those civilizations were more advanced, and to your point that you stated earlier, it doesn't really give a true picture of what those Aboriginals were, or what they looked like, or what their culture was like, or what it was like, because we have these images of like Crocodile Dundee, or savages running around, but that's not
Right.
necessarily true.
And when you think about it, the 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 Aborigines, and when they're talking about um, technology and the
Mhm.
tech and the progress from their technology to the technology that we have now, it still goes back to what we were talking about, how they use technology to take away some of what we already knew how to do. Like
Yes.
the telekinesis, telepathy, if you go over to the Indian religion from India with the dots, their ability to meditate and levitate and do things like that. So now we got the telephone. Now we got hoverboards, whatever, or just
Yeah.
a fake technology compared to what we used to be able to do. You know, um,
Hmm.
and they got it. We reversed engineered it to think to and took away our understanding of it.
Correct.
You
Yeah,
know,
that started
so that
first. That
we
was the
can't
first
do.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing. So we can't duplicate it within ourselves. I mean, we probably can if we actually had critical thinking skills. If we were able to think harder, think deeper, think longer. Uh, on a lot of stuff, and we didn't always argue with our own progress. You
And
know, go ahead.
sure. Yeah. I mean, and to tap into some of those stuff, what if thinking wasn't even part of the process? What if it was just like tapping
Yeah,
in and allowing it to come through? And the thinking
right.
stops that. Like too much thinking stops that,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And
And
that's
now
one
we're
of the
going to
things.
add to too much thinking. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My bad, dog.
No, no,
Um,
we good. We good.
yeah. Yeah. So the thinking too, and we've been put in this culture to feel like, or that thinking is the highest level of, I guess the highest level you could be is like if you're a great thinker. But some of the greatest things come through without even thinking. They
Right.
just
And
come
it's,
like what, yeah, like divine intervention that people would say, or I had an
ooh,
epiphany and it just comes, or or some people call them downloads, or whatever people term them, but there's different ways of receiving information that is not thinking.
right. And not, it's not necessary to call your imagination thinking, because imagination is on a totally different scale than thinking, because thinking is with conversation or whatever, but imagination is with pictures, feelings, smells, it's with the whole thing.
Yeah.
you know um Thinking has some parts of that, but imagination is way more creative, it's way more colorful, it's way more energy,
Yeah.
when
No
you're
doubt.
using your imagination, when we are using our imagination. And we have, like you was talking about, we do too much thinking. A lot of the thinking that we do is other people's thoughts. You know, you can't do that. You that's not
Right.
that's not what I was taught. That's not how it's supposed to be done. You're
Right.
supposed to do it this way. Like, why am I supposed to do it that way? I should be able to do everything that I want my way. You can do it your way. You know, I'm not breaking the law.
Yeah.
But
No doubt.
in order for me to be successful, I have to do what Jay-Z did.
What's that?
That doesn't. I don't know, but he's a
Oh, I get
successful
you.
person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you gotta do it his way. This is the path to success, right? The way he's done
Right,
it. I get
right.
you. I mean,
And and we don't always have to be cutthroat.
you mean like going like competition, or
Uh,
what do you
no, I'm
mean by
talking
that?
about more of a scandalous type of cutthroat. Like
Mm.
putting people in different places that is going to benefit me but hurt them, or if it doesn't hurt them, it doesn't allow them to go further, but I'm still benefiting from it.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
okay, we'll say like P Diddy, when P Diddy had the well, excuse me, when Puff Daddy had that show where he was bringing in all them rappers,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he
I
was
forgot
he
about that
was
show.
yeah, he was getting all that money from them, but none of them ever progressed to become multimillionaires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's that scandalous type of what I'm talking about. So
Okay. So skimming people's talent basically and using their talents for your own gain.
right,
Yeah.
right, and that was his path. That was his path to whatever, and we can't all do that type of scandalous deed. You know, just
Yeah,
then everybody be cutthroat, and that's not a good world to live
it's
in
not. I
my
mean,
opinion. In my opinion, you know.
yeah, some will argue that, yeah, that's exactly how we should be. And if you're not, then that's just on you. You're just going to get ate up. Dog eats dog world, you know?
Yeah, cannibalism.
And yeah, and we got a lot of that going on. It's just not physical cannibalism, right? It's, you know, taking people's energy, their attention, their focus, and harnessing that for your own gain or for more control. But it is a form of cannibalism.
Yeah,
Especially if you think, especially if you look at a person as just being an energetic being, which I think that we really are. And if you
yeah,
steal my energy, you're stealing a part of me. Yeah, interesting topic, bro. You know, you sent me this video about Neil deGrasse Tyson about the soul and the brain.
yeah.
Uh,
I just sent it because at first I caught the first parts of it. And I was like, oh yeah, that rhymes. I mean that flows. That's, you know. And then I sent it, and then I finished listening to it,
yeah,
and I was like, oh okay, that's not really on our same logic.
it's
You know.
not, man. I want to see if I can play it right now because I want to talk about it with you.
Okay, let's roll.
Let's see if I can get a screen share going one more time. All right, can you see my email there?
Yeah.
YouTube short.
Now I will say this though. I will say this. It does make sense, but it's not making sense for my line of thinking.
Okay.
You
All
know.
right. Well, I want you to break down your line of thinking because you sent me the video, bro. You got to explain yourself.
I just did. I just did.
All right.
I said in the
Let's roll with.
beginning part, it was good.
All right, let's roll with Neil. See what he's got, man. This guy,
Let's go.
he's a character.
Am I supposed to push the button?
What's that?
Am I supposed to push the link? I can't push it.
Oh, can you hold on? Can you hear it?
No, I can't hear nothing.
Hold up. You can't even hear it? Hold on.
I can't hear it or see your. I mean, I can't see the video neither.
Let me try one more time.
Yeah, maybe you gotta pull it up first.
Can you see that right there?
No, you're
right.
not sure.
What about now?
Yeah, I can see a hand.
Body of
There
Fred.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
yeah.
run it now. My bad. Technical difficulty. I think we got it.
Do you think there's such a thing as a soul?
Can you hear it? You heard that? Do you think there's a such thing as a soul?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll let it play. It's about 30 seconds, I think.
Do you think there's such a thing as a soul?
So here's something interesting. You go to a funeral parlor and your friend Frederick just died, let's say. You go to the funeral parlor. You don't say, hey, which room is Freddie in? You say, where is the body of Fred? We all say that. That's a tacit admission that Fred is something else that's no longer there. Well, what is it that was there when they were alive? Well, we have some evidence for this. The neurosynapses of your brain. And how do we know the brain is you? Because you can stroke out bits by bits of your brain and the whole sections that just shut down. And in the limit, none of your brain works except the basal motor functions that keeps your heart alive. You're still alive. Where's your soul now? When I can't even talk to you. You don't even know where you are or what you're doing. You have no awareness. I remain unconvinced that the soul is something, a word we give to your neurosynaptic thoughts that enable you to say, I am an individual and I have a consciousness.
Do you think there's such a thing as...
All right, man.
Okay, see, now here, let me go ahead and get back to you with that one. It was the first part where he said, when you go see the body, when you go see Fred, do you people don't say, let me go see Fred, they say, let me see the body. And that when you go there, he separated in that, at that point, he did separate the soul from the body.
Yes,
he did, but then he brought it back to the body when he was talking about the brain. So that, I mean, like, that's why I said I got part of it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Let me go ahead and send it. And then I finished listening to it, and I was like, damn, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. You know?
Well, I mean, I swear, I think
It-
this guy's a shield sometimes, man, because he'll be on point from my perspective, then he'll say something that's like weird.
yeah,
I mean, what do you think the body's separate from the soul?
Oh yeah, I think it's. I mean, I can understand what he's talking about because he was bringing it to energy, right? But he wasn't taking it to where the body is damaged, so the spirit can't speak through the body. The spirit is kind of trapped at that point. You know, he wasn't seeing it that way because the energy's still there.
Right.
The energy's still there. The body's just not functioning correctly. So the spirit is like, okay, well, this is all I got. I'm here. You know,
That's
too
right.
bad he didn't learn enough to be able to. What's that where you come out the body and go to another place?
Like an out of body experience, or
Yeah, there's a word for it. Yeah,
astral travel.
astral travel.
Astral travel. Yeah.
Planning. Yeah. So like maybe that is something that does happen, but there's still active energy inside of the body, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I think that he was at first he was on point, he made sense, but then he reconnected that energy to the body.
Right. Right. For sure. And it's so weird, man. Like for him, I mean, he's super smart, obviously.
Yes.
However, I think he hides the truth because he's so smart that he can circle around you. But if you're not aware, because I think it works like you don't really see with your eyes. They take in information, the brain sees it and interprets it,
Right.
and that works for every sense. Like it's not really the brain, it's not really the sense organs that are seeing and feeling. It's the interpretation of it. So when you touch something, your brain is interpreting it as solid. But the soul itself is experiencing the world in the brain, and so it interacts through the brain. So I think the brain is more like a conduit of information, like a CPU. Like you got the internet, and there's information out here in the World Wide Web, and the CPU is like what the information comes to, and then you see it interpreted on the screen like that. So that's kind of how it works. So, and it's reverse of that in our bodies. Like when we see things, and then it goes to the brain, which is the CPU, and where the information comes from is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the brain is just like an interpreter or a conduit. Me and you were talking about thoughts the other day about how there's thoughts that originate from within, thoughts that originate from without, and some of them are kind of universal, but they come through the brain, and it's the soul that is expressing itself through the body. But they're not the same thing, and it's not the
Yeah.
brain
Not the
that's
same thing at all.
yeah, it's not the same thing. The brain isn't the soul. It's something that the soul uses to express itself, from my perspective.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that concept of the stomach being in
Brain?
being the second brain, but not just not the stomach, it's actually the intestines, but it's that area. It's that area. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
have
kind of
heard
agree
that.
with it too.
Yeah, like what they call it, the gut brain axis. Some of the science will call it like the brain. The gut is always speaking to the brain to let you know. So let's talk about that a little further. Let's say the stomach is saying something. It's telling the brain. Let's say it's sending a hunger cue to the brain, and the
No,
brain sends the cue like, "Hey, man, you're hungry." Your brain interprets that signal that it's getting from the stomach as hunger, so that you could go do something about it.
no,
No.
I don't agree with that one.
Well, I didn't finish, but go ahead. Tell me
Go
what
ahead, you finish. You finish.
Nah, bro. Too late. Too late. Too late.
Okay.
Now, what are you
Okay.
thinking?
No, I'm thinking that what just the beginning part, your second part of it we might be saying the same thing, but the second part, the beginning part of it, I disagree with it. I think that when we say the stomach is sending that message that we're hungry, right? I think that
It's sending
is
a message, and the brain
a
can
message,
interpret it, as hunger.
and
Sometimes it
the
could be something
brain,
else. It
right?
could be misinterpreted.
I I think it's misinterpreted. I think we have been trained to believe that that is the only message that the stomach is giving. I
Hmm.
believe that when they tell us not to fast because there's different things that happen within fasting. You know, it helps our body. It helps our body to create its own water. You know, because we're breathing um, oxygen, and we have different, like CO2 in our bodies. So, I mean, it helps our body to create like the mitochondrion is what helps create this water, but it doesn't do that until we hit a certain state of fasting. In different states of fasting, you got cell regeneration, right? Your stomach, it becomes clear, but we get those thoughts of hunger because somebody said that we are addicted to food. We are addicted. We don't have to eat that much. We don't have to eat 3 days or 3 meals a day. We don't have to eat 3 meals a day. And if you look at a lot of animals, if you just understand that our bodies are like animals and our bodies are better than animals, right? And if our bodies are better than animals, that doesn't mean we have to eat more. We can eat less than the animal and still survive, right? If our body is actually better than animals, because even real strong animals, big lions and stuff, they don't eat every single day. They do have a big meal once or twice, or depending on how much food they catch. But they still always have energy to go catch some more food after they didn't eat for 2 days, 3 days, right? They're not 100% successful. So we don't have to eat. I have fasted for 10 days straight and was comfortable after my third and fourth day and wasn't hungry, you know.
Mhm.
I and in that same fast, I have not drank water for 3 days, 2 days, 2 days. Excuse me. Now, I did a dry fast within my fast, right? I think I told you the story when I had a lot of I had quite a few ailments, right?
Mhm.
Uh, my creatinine levels was high, blood pressure is high, borderline diabetic and everything. And I had a doctor, Dr. Diaz. She's dead now, but she was a wonderful doctor. And I had to do a blood panel, and she pointed through and was like, "Oh man, this is your blood is all like this." She went and said everything I just told you, but then she said you're gonna have to come back in like 3 months and do another one because we're gonna try to figure something out, right? So I went back, but before I went back, I did a fast. Now I gotta explain to you this fast so you can understand. It was my first day I fasted. The very next 24 hours, I broke my fast with soup, just the soup, and it wasn't no big giant bowl of soup. It was just a nice little bowl of soup, and then I went 2 days, broke my fast with the soup. 3 days, broke my fast with the soup. I did that 3, 4, 5, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then I went and did my blood panel. After I did my blood panel, I went back in, and the doctor was like, "Oh my gosh, look, your creatinine levels are on par. Your whatever made me a borderline diabetic, that changed. My blood pressure changed. A lot of stuff changed, right? So
Mhm.
then put me on hold for a second. Pause.
Uh,
You can't do that on live, huh?
I
No.
think I have to.
Okay. No, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just turn that off. Yeah, I'm cooking some chicken. Uh,
It's all good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I went back and she's like, "Oh, everything is, everything is good. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing." And I was like, "Okay." I fasted. She's like, "Whoa, don't fast. That's dangerous." I was like, "But that's the only thing that I changed." She was like, "Yeah, don't fast. We can't tell you to fast because that's dangerous." So there's something in there to where they're hiding actual truths about what fasting does.
Okay.
And there's something that's obvious that fasting does. Fasting causes the food industry to lose money. That's what it causes doctors, the medical field, to lose money, because during that time that you're fasting, your body has time to heal. Your intestines are like, okay, there's nothing to digest. Let's go ahead and fix ourselves. You know, you can read, you can do whatever you want to do. You can even work out. Now, I've worked out. You can't really, I ain't gonna say a person can't, but working out real heavy causes a lot of stress on your body while you're fasting. But so many different things change during the fasting process that I just think that they don't want you to do it, because you become clean. Parasites die inside your body because there's nothing for them to eat. You know, the sugars and all run out. You're drinking when you do a dry fast, your body has to access another part of itself that it doesn't get to use often, because we're always drinking water, we're always drinking soda, we're always drinking something. But there's a process inside of us that keeps us safe when we don't have water to drink, or much water.
Sure.
And we don't get that. You know, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I don't know how we got from milk.
Well, we were talking about, you were telling me that you didn't agree with what I was saying with the stomach talking to the brain, and then you moved on to fasting and all of that. And I mean, you made so many good points. I'm trying to backtrack and talk about one of them. I mean, the biggest thing we could point out by what you said is the adaptability of the body itself. Like it's always seeking to create homeostasis no matter what we do to it, right? Which is just balance. It's always trying to achieve a state of balance. So if you don't take in food, it's going to achieve that balance of energy throughout by taking, fat stores for energy and using that type of stuff. And when it starts to pull for those fat stores, like you said, because you're not eating, now it's getting rid of toxins and stuff, because the toxins are stored in the fat cells. So if your body starts utilizing fat cells for energy, it's not only burning fat, but it's also getting rid of more toxins, like you said.
Right.
And then, there's so many things that are really just obvious about our bodies that we just kind of breeze over. Like we just take it for granted, like healing itself. And we don't even if you get a simple cut, we see that it heals, but we don't. I don't know if we really stop and think about what capacity does the body really have to heal itself in a perfect environment, and that's something that could be really explored.
Right.
And then the physical capabilities of the body itself are off the charts. Like you got I remember when I was bodybuilding, man, my bodybuilding posing coach, who was now a IFBB pro female bodybuilder, started out being anorexic. So she went from anorexia, which is, almost super thin, no muscle mass, to a IFBB pro Olympic bodybuilder. That's the same person. And you have people who can go from being super skinny to 500 pounds and vice versa. You have, Jared and I were watching this video once about it had like one dude, these kids, they were I don't know, I forget what they were training for. They were martial artists, or I can't think of what specific martial art it was. But one of the kids laid down on some knives, then they put some more knives in between him and put another kid on top, more knives, and another kid on top. So now it's like 4 or 5 people on top of each other laying on top of knives. Like if you ask the average person, was that even possible? First they're gonna say, no, that's not even possible. So I think, you're hitting on something that's great. Like the capabilities of the body is so great. We only limited by how we think of it.
Hey, and I can say this is something that I experienced and did not even know it was possible. And when I was in the Marine Corps, we was humping. I had my backpack on, we humping in the woods. I fell asleep. Didn't even know I fell asleep. I woke up. out on the I woke up marching, still on a hump on the flight deck. I'm looking around like, where the trees go? How did I get here? And it wasn't like I just walked out onto the flight deck. I was like, the tree line was a good 50, 75 yards away, So, and I think probably the reason why I woke up was because the ground was it was level instead of being in the woods, So our bodies can do all kinds of amazing things. You see people fall asleep standing up in the military, and be snoring. Snoring, they is out.
Yeah, even something as simple as how many times have you driven somewhere and you be completely daydreaming? You're not even thinking about the drive. Maybe you're playing with your phone, and then you end up at your destination. Something is helping you do that.
Yeah.
Because you're not even, I guess what I'm getting at, you're not even conscious of all the things that you're doing all the time, and you're just doing them. There's something inside of us that's doing it,
Right. And those little things about how I think everybody done heard this story before, but it's a true story where the car was smashing a little baby, and the little bitty mom picked the car up, not like this, but lifted the car up to get the baby out from up underneath it. And there was a girl that went into a freezer, a walk-in freezer, and to go grab some stuff because they had already was cleaning it out. The door closed behind her, and they found her a couple days later. She had froze to death, but the freezer was broken. It wasn't even cold, but her body actually froze. So our bodies, our mind is a wonderful thing, but it affects our body so much because this part of our body, not the brain, but what would we be able to actually do if we focused on our bellies and not in fasting? And the only thing that we really have as an example that I know that we have as an example is Jesus. He fasted for 40 days, right? Moses fasted for 40 days. I mean, there's a bunch of people in the Bible that fasted for 40 days, and that's a long time. But they fasted, and when they fasted, they did amazing things afterwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, why 40 days? I mean, that's an interesting number.
I don't know.
Say 40. Well, I was going to say, we know that the Bible is encoded with a lot of messages and symbolism and numbers. Just what comes to mind with me is 4. The number 4 is a foundational number, which is very, you got four legs to stand on. It's a very sturdy
Stable
thing. So if you're I guess what I'm trying to say is if you fast and when you come out of it, you're on a new foundation now. Your way of living or focus is now different. You've set a new foundation. So I don't know if it was literally 40 days, but it certainly put them on a different platform of living or a different way of living after that fast. And I'm just thinking about that number 4, like a different foundation. Like if you your the way you lived prior to fasting and then coming into that new knowledge, it really shaped how you went forward and how you saw food and how you lived then. Because but it's just interesting for 40 days. I'm not, everything that we learn these days tells you that the human body is not going to survive for 40 days of physical fasting. Right. I don't know if that's true.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And think about this. Those freaking the Jews that were in the Holocaust and in all those things, the Russians did all kinds, and the Germans did all kinds of science fair projects on those people. You know what I mean? Let's see how far they can withstand not eating. Let's see how much gas they can take before they die. Let's see how much pain they did experiments on them. And if you've seen a lot of their photos, right? of them starving them and still working them at the same time. Those, and like where there was just bones. You seen those? Remember those pictures? And those people were just bones. You didn't see any muscles, and they still up moving around. You know, and then when they get rehydrated and whatever, we don't know how much they was tortured, right? But those were people that weren't in famine, and they went all the way down to bones. How long do you think it would take them to go all the way down to bone? Now, I'm not saying they were healthy. I'm not saying that they were healthy. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that. But their bodies did withstand however long it took them to be working at the same time as not eating, you know, to get all the way down to smaller than freaking fingers, to where you can see their bones and their veins laying up against their bones. And they were walking around still talking, not dead. So we can fast for a long time. We just don't want to. We just are scared because everything that is taught to us about fasting is wrong. You know?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head too about the industry. The industry is like, it fuels it. Like, I remember reading something about, you know, the first food pyramids and stuff when that first came out back in the early 1900s, when the agricultural industry was being, I guess, it was in its infancy. It was new, and in a way to get people to consume more food, because now people went from like small farms doing their own thing to now it's more of an industry. In order to get people to eat more food, because now the production of it is so great, we need to do some campaigns and advertising to get people to eat more. And one of those things was cereal. So they put grains at the bottom of the food chain, food pyramid, as a number one thing that you should be eating so that you could consume more of it. So it all started with that, like being able to improving the food industry, but really I think that was getting control over it and taking it from the individuals, and then making people feel like they had to eat more with the advertising and how much you should consume and all that stuff. It's all wrapped up in the same thing we see today, commercialism and consumerism. Yeah. So to your point, I don't personally think we have to eat 3, 4, 5 times a day. It only depends on like what you want to accomplish, and that would determine what you should eat based on what we've studied. So if you want to be muscular and really big, obviously you can't fast very long.
Right. Or, you can't do that for long. And you have to eat more.
Yeah, you have to eat more.
But you don't have see, and this is one of the things too, that you know how they say protein, you got to eat a lot of protein, right? You can eat animal protein, or you can eat vegetable protein, right?
Sure.
And some vegetables have more protein than meat, right?
More specifically, amino acids, I think. You're gonna get them, which your body then would make into proteins, from my understanding of it. You can get the essential amino acids from combining certain plant proteins to get more complete ones. It's nutrition is one of those weird subjects, man. I think there's so much misinformation around it, and one of the things that's a problem for nutritional studies is that it's hard to control a nutritional study. So the gold standard in any study is double-blind, placebo-controlled, all those type of measures for a gold standard study. You want the people to be double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized, all those things that make it a complete study. But the thing about nutrition is most of those studies are done with people keeping food journals, or they're having to recall what they ate. But very, very few studies are giving people eat this specific thing for this amount of time at this time of day at this amount. Like there's very few studies like that. So it's hard to say specifically
what the food
what the food really does from a dietary standpoint. So we can only use like what happens on individual levels, how people experience it. And that varies across the board because you got so many, like you eat apples every day and I eat apples, we probably gonna get a totally different response from apples.
Right. And you have to, like, the main thing, like what you were saying, in order for it to be great, you have to have a prepared control group. Like, okay, all 100 of y'all, this is your diet for the next 6 months. This is what you're going to eat for the next 6 months on this time. Y'all going over here for a camp, and we are going to watch you. Now that y'all done did that, now we getting ready to start to study. Because we know what y'all eating. We know what your body type is right now. We know that you used to be fat, but because you did our diet, this is where you're at now. And this is where you're stable. We know you used to be skinny. Now you done gained some weight, and this is where you are now. So everybody's on the same page right here. They're not going to do that, and they can't even do it the same way on an individual level. And this is just my my guessing, because like you said, you eat apples, I eat apples. It's going to be different. It's going to be different because even though you eat apples and I eat apples, I drink four teaspoons of olive oil every day. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know,
you're stressed out at work, and I'm just super chill sitting at the house. That's gonna make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. I'm worried about Neil Tyson Degrassi and his asteroid that's going to destroy the Earth 200 million years from now.
Right?
Thinking it's happening right now, and you're sitting there listening to the war, the war on drugs and debates on how that's fake. Right? I mean, like, just even up here has to be clean and the same. I got to go grab this out the oven 1 second.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, man. There's so many things with these nutritional studies. It's Thanksgiving. We're back again, A to Z. What you guys doing for Thanksgiving? If you're out there listening, look like we got no listeners, but it's all good. It's all good. What are you cooking on back there, man? I can still hear you back there chuckling.
I'll bring it out here.
Oh, you're gonna bring it. Oh, you're gonna bring the festivities to us. What is?
You can't see
that looks
it.
good. Yo, I can see it.
Okay, I got to brown it. It's some Cornish hen.
Okay, yeah, that looks good, bro.
Yeah, that's what's in the oven right now.
It's multitasking on Thanksgiving. Those nutritional studies are crazy, man. And one of the things too that's we have to, another way to think about our bodies is like its own. It's like its own petri dish. It's like its own petri dish. Your body, my body, and I think I was listening to this dude, Bro Sanchez, who pointed this out, and it was a great point that like all the elements on the periodic table, but the one element that's missing is the human. Because once you consume something, it becomes a totally different element that may not even be on the chart because it's your own digestive system, your own thoughts, your own emotions, which affect which hormones get secreted and how things get digested at a certain time,
which creates a whole different chemical.
It creates a whole different chemical. So it's very hard to kind of say what is going to happen specifically to you when you eat something or consume something. So it brings me to my point that the mind and the body are so great in its capabilities that we don't even know a lot about it. I think a lot of it is just educated guesses, and a lot of them, some of those guesses are more educated than others, but a lot of it is still guessing. We know a lot. We do know a lot. And science is getting better as you can kind of individualize what's going on in someone's body at the time, like with saliva testing and different things like that. But it's still individual. Go for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of our downfall is not just because we don't think, or we're not thinking properly. We're not thinking in the right direction and stuff like that. We're not thinking that we're looking at a ball. We're only thinking that we're looking at a flat wall. You know, and if no matter from wherever angle I look at, everybody can see the same thing. We can't, because we're looking at a ball. right? Everybody has, there's a different angle. But I think most of our issues come from our bellies. And I think that they know that
Most
it
of
comes
what
from our
issues?
belly.
What issues? Health issues or what issues?
Health issues, mental issues, spiritual issues. I think it mostly comes from our belly because of all the different attacks that we have on our belly. Okay, because we don't need to eat sugar, right? We don't really need to eat sugars like that because we can get natural sugars through foods. We can get natural sugars through fruits, right? Um, we don't have to put sugar on everything just to make it taste good. We eat lard for what reason? Just because it makes good icing. It's the best icing. I don't care what nobody say. It's the best icing. But because I don't like that whipped stuff. Anyway, all the different chemicals that they put in foods that you don't need to put in foods, even put in foods before we even eat it, like chicken. All the different antibiotics in the chickens, and then after they kill the chicken and pull the viscera out, they dump the chicken inside of a bleach
Saline
wash.
solution. Yeah.
No, a bleach wash.
Bleach wash.
Yeah. So, but okay. So now this chicken is hot already. It's still soaking up the bleach in there, and then they come through and put the needles in for the saline solution in there just to pump it up, right? So you got all these different chemicals that is going inside this meat that we got to eat, and they do that for the almost all the meat that we eat, especially the pork, the beef that we eat a lot of. You know what I mean? So the attack, and then all the non-foods. All the non-food products that we eat.
Like, you mean like energy drinks, candy bars, those types of things, cookies, cakes?
Yes, all of that. The health food that is not really, that has all these extra chemicals in it and preservatives. You
go. That's a great point that you made, and it takes me back to what you said earlier about misinterpreting the signals that come from the stomach. A lot of times they maybe it is a hunger cue, and maybe you should eat something, but sometimes people will say, oh, I'm craving some cake. Like, there's no way your body needs cake, right?
Right.
So like, you can't even make an argument that you need some cake. So
Right.
what is that signal that your body's really telling you that you do need?
That's right.
And that's the point you were making, I think.
That's the point that I'm making. I'm saying, like say when we're hungry, when we think we're hungry.
We think you're hungry.
What if that's just what they told us? Oh, your stomach is growling? That means you're hungry. Oh, your mouth is watering, you can feel it in your stomach? That means you're hungry. What if your stomach, part of its process of digestion is that? It's not you're hungry. Hey, I'm at this level of digestion. Go ahead, let's go ahead and rinse the mouth out with some of this with some of this water. The saliva. Let's add some more saliva to the belly. And it's gargling because it's gas moving around. And I thought, oh, I'm hungry. I can feel it in my stomach. No, it's your stomach's doing this digestion thing. It's going to its next process of elimination.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's what it is, like pangs, like hunger pains.
Right.
We always in a state, well, not always, a lot of times we're in a state of doing our best to avoid pain and discomfort, and that feeling, and that you feeling your stomach is uncomfortable, or some people describe it as a stomach pain, and we're looking for oftentimes a quick way to get rid of that, rather than just listening to it and interpreting it intelligently of what it really means.
And it's something that is totally okay. We can even use it to you, and to where you are able to describe something that's different. You work out.
Okay.
Right? You work out. You're sitting there, you're working out. You can feel it. Oh, it's getting kind of tight. I'm getting kind of pumped. Right? but somebody else is feeling, oh damn, ooh, I'm getting sore. Like, no, you're getting pumped. You're at the pump zone.
Yes.
You're not at the sore zone yet. You're going to
Right.
get there, but you're at the pump zone. No, I can't do this. I can't do this. So they're interpreting that is sore, and
Right.
somebody has told
Or something
them
to stay away from or avoid.
exactly when it's not. It's not that yet. So our interpretation on a lot of the things, because have you fasted for 4 or 5 days?
I have not. Mm-mm.
Okay, check this out. When your first 3-4 days, your first 3-4 days of fasting, your stomach is doing a lot of stuff. You're mentally fighting. Oh my gosh, I gotta eat. You know, you're trying, especially if you're wanting to do this, you're like, oh gosh, I want to do this, so I gotta push through it, right? So those things you go through. Then on the 4th and 5th day, it's not there. You don't get that. You don't get that. I'm hungry. Your body's like, man, shit. You know what? I got all kinds of energy. I'm not even sleepy. I can do whatever I want. Am I hungry? Nah, I'm not hungry really. And once you get to that point, you're like, you're not really thinking about food because you're too busy trying to do other stuff. Your body's not trying to digest. You have more energy. You're a little bit lighter. You know, your body then start attacking, which they want to say it attacks your muscles first, right? It doesn't. It goes for the fat, just like you said. It's going for the fat. That's where all the reserves are. And that's one of the lies they tell you. It's going to eat your muscles, and it's not going to eat your fat. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't the fat the body's reserves? So yes, it's going to eat the fat. And the reason why the muscles look like they're getting smaller, because when you're fasting, you're not working out. It's not eating the muscle. You're not actually going out there being a beast, pushing up all this weight. You're trying to relax, you know, trying not to expend so much energy because you don't know how much energy you have. You know, like me, if me and you, I can fast longer than you. I got more fat than you. You know what I mean? So
For sure. Yeah.
it'd be different. But then think about this. You know, Ramadan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ramadan, they fast, right, for a whole month, right? No, they don't. They just don't. They intermittent fast for a month.
Yeah, they give up
intermittent
certain
fast.
things. Yeah, this and that. Yeah.
Right. It's not a full fast because they eat later on in the day when the sun goes down. So they stop eating when the sun comes up, and then they eat when the sun goes down. So even them, they're not fasting. They're not doing a full fast, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even in the Quran, it talks about them doing a full fast. You know, in the Bible, it talks about full fasting. In the Torah, it talks about full fasting for the same thing, doing a full fast. But we don't do it. We don't. It's not stated because they're against it. They're against it. There's something just like when the Europeans a long time ago went to war with India. They told them to stop meditating. We got to stop these guys from meditating. For what? We got to tell them it's bad. When they was losing wars against the people in Africa, oh man, these people are healing themselves. Their doctors are better than ours. Okay, we're gonna call this these
Witchcraft.
witch doctors. Yeah,
Yeah.
witchcraft and witch doctors. They have other skills that we don't have. Or not so much that we don't have, but they have skills that are not allowing us to conquer them immediately.
Yeah. That are above our skills.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and say whatever they're practicing is black magic, witchcraft. So they didn't put all of our stuff, all of our abilities in the sense, I mean, in a mind frame of that is evil, is bad, don't do it. So
And then they do it.
right. So that's the reason why I'm thinking Look, they're attacking our bellies so much with all this fake junk. They keep trying to put all this junk in us, and we become addicted to this food. We have to eat 3 times a day. You know, food is so available, and it's not even real food. You know, that McDonald's all beef patty, the name of the company is all beef. It's not all beef. You know what I mean? That's just the name of the company.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's so crazy.
So because they're attacking our bellies and even telling the doctors to tell us that fasting is bad, and then they're giving us examples of fasting, intermittent fasting. Here's your other choice. Still eat, keep on eating all the time, but just chop it down a little bit. You can do an 18-hour fast. Yeah, intermittent fasting. 12-hour fast is even better because you can eat more. You know what I mean? Still take in this junk. So I believe that there's an attack on the belly, man. We need to do more actual fasting, at least 4 days. 3 days is cool, but the 1 or 2 days are practice for the longer days.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some benefit, and I think like it almost most nutrition concepts have some validity, I think, whether it be fasting, whether it be paleo, whether it be vegan, whether it be vegetarian, and some of the more weird ones like being a fruitarian.
Right. Or the
I think I've
single
heard
eaters, the meat eaters.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with like what you want to accomplish at the time. What your level of consciousness is a big one, because that's the mind, and that's going to affect how you're able to even accept what's happening to your body and being able to adapt to it. You know, if you're having friction or going to war with yourself in your mind about fasting, for example, it's not gonna do well for you. You know, it's gonna
Right.
always be a mental fight. So that has a factor to do with it also. And then like some of these people who eat very little, especially like the monks and things like that, they've trained their mind and their consciousness, especially with all of the breathing exercises and breathing techniques, that
Yeah.
allows you to be able to extract more nutrients from the air, because air has a lot of nutrients in it and things. And if you think of your body being like a filtration system, because it's filtering through all this food, all these chemicals, all the air you breathe, all the things you hear. And the more you can train your body to be like a better filter, you're going to extract more things from what you're taking in. And that's no different from saying, if you read at a five-year-old level versus a college level, you're going to extract more information from the reading the same thing. It's the same thing with food and nutrients. So I think you can train your body to extract more from less. How much more or how much less? I think it varies quite a bit, but I mean, I think you're onto something. I mean, the body can just do a lot.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. And I don't think that we allow it to do what it do for the most part. Because our heart beats by itself. We don't have to think about it. We breathe
For like 80 years, 100 years.
Right. Exactly. And probably longer if we took better care of our body, and including the mind. The mind is part of that, but yeah. I really think that we could do so much more. We just don't. And I think this is my issue. I think all this stuff, but when I talk to other people, they're like, "Where's your example?" Show me an example of this.
The examples are everywhere, man. We just don't really see it for what it really is. If you think about it, look at the professional athletes in the world. Look at the world's strong men. Look at these martial artists. Look at the things that these people are doing, and then look at the average person you see on the street. How much further more advanced are these bodies than the average person you see? It's miles. It's miles apart. Miles apart from, like, even me. I work out, and I consider myself to be in the top 10% of the population just from working out consistently. But I'm miles apart from what LeBron James can do. Like miles.
Right.
Like it's not even close. I mean, you know, these strong men, the world's strongest men, if you ever watched that these
Yeah.
dudes are pulling trucks and 300-pound Atlas stones. The examples are out there. We're just not like looking at it for what it is. Like these people they've tapped into like, you know, superpower strength, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I was in
And I was gonna
go
say
ahead, go
they
ahead.
probably can do even more than that if they were in the perfect environment with no outside influence or no thoughts that governed even where they're at now. They could probably do
Yeah.
even more.
Oh, way more, way more.
Yeah.
I when I was in Wooster, Ohio, I trained for not too long, but it was like maybe 2 months, only 2 months with he was 48, 49, strongman. And he had a barn with all of the stuff in his I mean in the barn on like they didn't have a farm, but they had a lot of land. They had a lot of land. And I went out there and trained with him for, like I said, like 2 months. And I got bigger. Just you know, just being around this cat. And he was huge. You know what I mean? And doing what they do. And I didn't eat like he ate. I didn't do none of that stuff, but doing his specific exercises, you know, pulling a sled up the hill while I'm sitting down and it's got weight on it, you know, and just like the Atlas stones, it creates something different. You do training, right? So you know when people are doing your workout, they're going to eventually, if they're doing your workout the way you do your workout, their body's going to become something similar to the way your body is. And the reason why I say that is because I work out with this dude named Kevin. This dude, y'all bodies are pretty close to the same. He's a little bit thicker. He's a
Shut
little
up,
bit
Ali.
thicker.
Come on,
What?
bro. He's not
What?
thicker than me. Come on, man.
but
yeah. Let's measure up.
nah, he's older to you. He's older than you too. He's like 54.
Yeah, okay.
But
all right, he can have it then.
but when I work out with him, I do start slimming up, and my wife then already say, hey, you when you work out with him, your body looks better. And then I come home and work out here, and then I get fat. Then I go back and work out with him, I get my body. I mean, so I'm just saying, I'm trying to add on to what you were saying, the different things that the body do and the different fields that you're in creates the body that you have.
Yeah, it does. And it's kind of like the body adapts specifically to what you do to it. So like you can look at like swimmers' bodies, for example. You can look at their bodies and say, oh, those dudes are swimmers. Or sometimes you can look at, you know, volleyball players and the way they're built and the way they walk. You can say, oh, that's a volleyball player. And it's because I think the mind and the body are so closely linked that it's a certain mindset, a certain type of training, and a certain type of body that is best designed for that specific task. So people's body adapts and morphs closer to that,
right,
in order to do that thing.
And the thing that people would argue with, and I was getting ready to argue with you, but I understand it, so I'm not. It's not an argument. It's Venus and Serena.
Yeah,
it's actually the reason why they're not all super skinny like those other people is because their genes are different. You know, their DNAs are just a little bit different than everybody else. But for the most part, everybody that does tennis is skinny. Or well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm not talking about skinny, but you know, their build is slender.
Yeah, exactly. And then like on a metabolic level, like tennis is a certain type of energetic pathway that your body has to use. So like it's kind of in between. It's kind of like anaerobic, so it's kind of sprinting, but it's also aerobic. It's kind of like running for a long distance because you're back and forth, and it's for like an hour, 2 hours at a time. So your body's also adapting in ways that you can't see so that it could be able to do that task. And certain people are genetically gifted to do certain things versus others. And I think to your point about Venus and Serena, they're Black or African American, but their bodies, if you saw them in person, is very slender for a quote unquote Black or African American, more so than the average. And TV kind of skews it, but I guarantee if you saw them, you're like, oh yeah, they're
not as big
like,
as they look.
Yeah, they're not as big as they look, and they're also not like they're not going to look like a bodybuilder. They're going to look still like a aerobic type of athlete that's just Black. Versus versus, you know what I'm saying? So even though they have Black bodies, they're still physiologically adapted to tennis, which is very different from being physiologically adapted to, let's say, powerlifting.
Right. Like Bobby Lashley or Ashley or whatever his name is. He's a bodybuilder.
I know you're talking about. Yep.
In wrestling, but then you got the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, who is a power lifter. They're both Black. The body types are totally different, but you know what I mean. So it's like,
and your average strong man is going to have an average type of build, right? Like an average,
right?
Certain amount of fat.
Be strong as an ox, and just look different. So and again, what you was talking about, the swimmers, what's that dude, Michael Phelps, them long ass arms, the little slender body, built
big
for
shoulders.
Swimming. Big shoulders, built for swimming, And then you got the couch potatoes. They got to hold that couch down, so they kind of round on the bottom. You know what I mean?
Just spread out to fit the couch.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's job is a little bit different, and that's to say real, because think about this. For the average person that works in the office that does not do anything really athletic, don't go walking too much. Almost all of those people got fat butts. For the most part, their butts are big, and it's like, and I see that where I work at. It's like, okay, you're in the office all the time, your butt's fat. That's just what it is, and that's probably because their body's like, yo, you know what? This is where we need the cushion. And so when we eat, we need this. And now that we need a little bit of balance, let's put more weight in the front so you can lean forward a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's a great point, which your body then adapts to being in a seat all the time. So now you got tight lower back, tight hips, and you don't stand up as straight as you used to because your body just keeps adapting more and more to be efficient at sitting down at work.
Yeah,
and that's the great thing about the body; it'll adapt to almost anything,
except for falling from the sky.
Oh yeah, that is not gonna happen.
Well, it will adapt to falling from the sky, just not hitting the ground.
Yeah, man. I think I think the capabilities are crazy. I mean, a lot of it's just governed though, like by the mind. And I think you and I talked about it before. Like the best way to control someone is to control their mind and their thoughts. Because once you do that, they're just gonna continue to limit themselves. Like I can't take, and I try to catch myself from doing this a lot, but when people are just walking around, I can't do that no more, I'm getting old. This concept of what you can't do anymore because you're old or you're getting older, that's just a mental like a mental thing or a mental block you're putting on yourself of what your own capabilities are.
Right.
Because you feel like they have to decline when you hit a certain age, but it's not really true. I saw this dude got an award the other day for being like 100. He was like 115, like a yoga instructor, still teaching yoga at 100 something years old. Yeah. In our society, people feel like it's over for them at 40.
Right. Hey, when we and Vanessa went to Japan, we seen people that looked like they was 300 years old still walking around. But you know what I mean? But of course they're not. But they're like 90 years old, 100 years old. walking around doing stuff. When I was in Japan, I know this lady was like 106 years old, still farming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it really does depend on, I believe, also what we hear. Yeah, and one of the things that we hear a lot is we don't live past 80. You'd be lucky to live past 80. You'd be lucky,
Yeah.
you know.
And
So our body starts shutting down and then. Go ahead.
Nah, bro, you're right, because that's so huge. Because I even find myself walking around like, man, I got to go like another 45 years, as to say that 80 is gonna be the end. 80, 85 is the end, and I'm pretty sure those who put out those studies, life expectancy, know that that's gonna govern most people's lifespan if they continue to believe that that's about where it ends.
Yeah.
But what if you're that 100-year-old, that person who lives to 115? What did they think about 80 before they got there? Was that their block, or were they thinking, I'm gonna go to 115?
They
And they
probably
just
thinking
kept
it was gonna
rolling.
go 20.
Yeah,
Right? Or
maybe.
it could have been that. Could have been that. But you know, check this out. This and this is who we listen to. I'm gonna go for my wife's mother. She was having some issues, some physical issues, you know, and the doctor told her, hey, you know, you're gonna have to get on dialysis, you know, because you're sick. And she's like, oh, you know, why do I got to get on dialysis? They're like, because you're sick. This will help you. And she said, how long will I live on dialysis? They was like, well, you'll have a real good chance, but you'll live like 2 years. She's like, fuck y'all, you know, and she's been kicking it healthy ever since, because she didn't take that shit. That put a cap on her. That put a cap on her life, and she's like, no, it ain't happening. It ain't happening, and she's still pushing. That was a longer, like, she'd be gone now. She
Yeah.
would be gone now. She's still kicking it. You know what I mean?
There's so many stories of people who get told that, and they defied the doctor's advice and live longer than the doctor said they would have, all the time.
Exactly.
I've heard
So
that
it
at
is,
least 30 times in my life, if not more.
yeah. So it is a mental thing that these doctors can't tell you what. And this is one of the things I don't understand. You probably won't be able to answer this for me. Maybe you will. I don't know. But it's something that was in my head. They say a lot of people who are on dialysis are dehydrated. They're dehydrated, and when they stick that thing in, you know, it's supposed to do the stuff with the blood, but they can't drink a lot of water. They're not allowed to drink a lot of water. My grandmother, she was on dialysis, and they was telling her she can't drink a lot of water. I was like, she needs to drink a lot of water, because she's not drinking any water. And then when I was working at the VA hospital and I was doing stuff in dialysis, they were saying the same thing. Now they can't drink a lot of water because of this the stuff we put in there, in their blood. It's like, but if you're trying to clean their blood, doesn't water clean? Doesn't hydration help them clean their blood naturally? You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, but it's like, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. If they need to clean their blood and you're telling them not to drink water, and that you're going to be the only people to judge how clean their blood is going to be, y'all guys aren't right. You know, because how many people has dialysis actually saved? I thought dialysis is a death sentence.
I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anybody being on dialysis and living to be 115.
Exactly.
But you know, I don't know why they would say no water. I mean, you know, it, like you said, it's trying to filter the blood out. Only thing I could think in my limited knowledge on dialysis is that maybe they don't want the kidneys working too hard, because your kidneys are gonna have to filter more stuff out. But I honestly don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Using common sense, you would think water would help. but also too, like it might be like, because what are they talking about is what is the glomerular filtration rate? So how fast the rate of filtration the kidneys can handle. So maybe if the kidneys aren't functioning very well and you start overloading it with too much water and the kidneys can't function, now you got issues with the bladder. Maybe you have issue with blood pressure then, because the blood pressure is all it's all running off the same system. Blood pressure, kidneys, and water excretion and water retention is all predicated upon the health of the kidneys. And that's called what's it called? Something about a RAS system. So renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system that monitors all of those things. And maybe it just throws off that system because it just can't filter out a rate in which you're drinking too much water. So maybe it's that, but that's just a guess, an educated guess. I'm sure there's somebody who got a more educated one than me.
You sounded too good on that one. I just want you to know that. So yeah, fuck water if you're on dialysis. Hey Rob, but I gotta get it moving, man. I gotta get it moving. So happy Kill the Indians Day. And,
hey, bro, saying to you, don't do anything crazy. Don't go kill any Indians or natives, man. Be safe out there.
All right, man.
All right, bro. Tell the family we said what's up.
I sure will.
Okay, holla at you.
I got.